For over 15 years, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Don't worry, be happy. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show on this Saturday morning. My choice of the word Doan is, of course, deliberate, as we'll talk about Shane and his potential reunion with the Winnipeg Jets organization. That will lead off this morning's show. But first, we have to say what we always say, which is good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Dave Manouk in the top right, Ezra Ginsburg in the bottom middle. I am your trustworthy, maybe, host, Drew Mindell, here for the next couple of hours, talking all things Winnipeg Jets, all things NHL, all things Stanley Cup playoffs. Gentlemen, great to see you. Apparently, it was Red Day in the unofficial memo that none of us actually exchanged with one another. But nice to see us all looking vivacious in red this morning.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, boys? What's up, chat? Everybody listening on our YouTube page and on the podcast. Look, the most important thing is we all look handsome, Drew. Looking good. Whether it's red, blue, green, purple, we always look good. So
I don't think I own anything green. I'm just trying to think now that you mentioned green. I don't think I have anything that would be a green sort of T-shirt. It's not a go-to color for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I have sort of a light green button down, but that's about all the green I got. I think I'm not a big green guy.
I feel like you're a big blue guy.
Yeah, blue's a good one for me. Leaning more into black lately, to match
slimming.
It's slimming and to match my soul. So I mean, both of those things are good for me in that front. But yeah, leaning a little bit more into black lately as well. That's it on my closet.
I thought Drew would go with the word resplendent, but he chose not. He kept that one holstered, if you will.
I used resplendent last week. I got to change it up. I was feeling more vivacious than resplendent this morning. But,
all right.
Dave, you're looking both vivacious and resplendent.
I appreciate that. Feeling good despite the allergies killing me. But yeah, it is funny how we all chose to wear red today randomly. But it is the color. The show brought to you by the color red. And the Jets are trying to figure things out, right, Ez? I mean, we're hearing all the rumors, and Mike and Kenny were reporting in the Free Press about Shane Doan. So,
well, let's start with that. That's where we're going to say we were going to start, so we might as well dive right into it. And now, we've already sort of been sidetracked a little bit by the color conversation, but Shane Doan apparently may be a potential Jets homecoming in the works. Our buddies Ken Weeb, Mike McIntyre reporting that Monday in the Winnipeg Free Press, in the broadsheets of our local newspaper, saying that talks are underway. I'm quoting from the article. Talks are underway with Shane Doan, the former player turned NHL executive, about a potential management role with the organization. The Free Press has confirmed. Shane Doan, 49 years of age. We remember him, of course, of the last first-round pick of the Jets 1.0. He was in town last week. He met with co-owner and chairman of True North Sports and Entertainment, Mark Chipman, among others. He also toured the team's facilities as he weighs his next move. We know Shane Doan has spent the last 3 seasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs as a special advisor to former GM Brad Treliving. He was, his contract expired. He was maybe thinking about something with the Vancouver organization before they went in their direction. So maybe Shane Doan coming into Winnipeg to be part of the management team here in Winnipeg. I guess I'll start with you, Dave. Your thoughts when that article came out, when you saw the news that Shane Doan may be a part of the Winnipeg Jets organization. Worth noting, nothing is signed, nothing official. There's been really no news on that front since last Monday, but there's obviously a little bit of smoke there worth delving into.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I don't really know what Shane's Doan, like what his impact in Toronto has been, right? We don't follow the Leafs. We're not a Leafs show. So it's hard for us to kind of gauge, his level of success in Toronto, right, Ezzy, or if he had any or anything like that. We know that apparently he's a very nice guy, gets along with people in the organization. He's has a positive attitude, but I couldn't give you any sort of particular insight, guys, because I don't know Exactly. We don't even know a role, right? Like, it's hard to know. I mean, presumably we're talking, an assistant general manager position or something of that nature.
I think
or
it
maybe,
has to be, guys. Like, I don't think you're looking at a president of hockey ops.
Yeah,
The Jets have steadfastly not had a president of hockey operations, despite a lot of people suggesting that they need to, that's a role that they could have and maybe even should have to some degree. It certainly doesn't seem like he'd be. I mean, to me, a president of hockey operations would be coming in above Kevin Cheveldayoff on some sort of organizational hierarchy chart. And I don't believe, to your point, Ezzy, that would be the case at all in this case. I think it seems like they're just, I mean, the Jets are, when it comes to their management team, are very lean. And they have been very lean since they came back to Winnipeg. Since, for the last 15 plus years, they have had a very lean hockey operations department. Now, maybe after this many years, there's some thought, and probably overdue thought, being perfectly honest, that, hey, maybe we need a few more cooks in the kitchen, a few more eyes, a few more bodies, intelligent bodies, educated bodies, experienced bodies to bounce ideas off and to flesh out our hockey operations department to make it to its maximum benefit.
Right. And like Dave said, we don't know. I mean, we've read about what Shane Doan has done in Toronto, right? Like his role was special advisor, like Drew mentioned, to Brad Treliving. So that involved some player development, some scouting. And the way I look at it, guys, like having someone like Shane Doan, who, not only has played 1,500 plus NHL games, but is a very smart, connected hockey mind. Like there's no downside to bringing him in. And like we said, the Jets obviously already have an assistant general manager in Larry Simmons, but it looks like it would be a similar type of role. Like, whether Shane Doan would be above Larry Simmons or not, I don't think really matters. I think the point is that, if the Jets do bring in Shane Doan, it looks like he could kind of be a little bit of a jack of all trades type of guy, right? Like we said, working in hockey ops, working in player development, scouting, right, Dave? So I don't see any downside. I mean, there's obviously the Jets connection. He played here for the 1 year, right? His rookie year with Winnipeg. So, and like Dave said, you're not going to find anybody who's going to say anything bad about Shane Doan. I mean, Shane Doan is a classy guy, very well-respected guy. So I can only see a fresh set of eyes being a good thing.
And I want to just chime in because I'm seeing the chat say something about ties to the Jets 1.0, but I mean, he played here for 1 year. I mean, people don't think of Shane Doan. I think they think of him as the last first-round pick of the Jets. That's about it. But you don't associate him with the Winnipeg Jets. You associate him with the Arizona Coyotes. And I mean, personally, I don't think that should be something that tarnishes him one way or promotes him. You know what I mean? Personally, I don't think it's a negative, but I know folks have this impression that it's an old boys club and everyone, you have to have a connection to Jets 1.0 or the Manitoba Moose in order to get a job with True North. But again, like I said, to me, you're looking at.
By the way, Dave, I would still say that the NHL is an old boys club.
No. I'm not saying it isn't. It for sure is. I mean, you can see 90% of the people that are in hockey are a result of connections and who they know, not because of their capabilities.
For sure.
So I'm not suggesting that in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply saying that to me, Doan playing for the Jets for 1 year is not something that you're like, oh, well, he's only getting this opportunity. I mean, look, the Vancouver Canucks gave him a chance to interview for the GM position. Now, he didn't get it, but he had no connection to Vancouver. So it's not as if you're looking at a guy who hasn't been in a role and he's just, looking for a chance. And you're like, okay, well, we're going to hand you an AGM position or something in player development, or prospect development, whatever it's going to be. So I just think that to me, and again, it's just my own opinion, I don't know that I would necessarily use that against Shane Doan in some sort of castigating him and his abilities. That's the way I look at it.
I would agree with you there. I don't think that he should be tarred with a negative brush because he was the last first round pick of the Winnipeg Jets 1.0. I don't think that's why he's getting this interview opportunity or at least this exploratory opportunity, whether materializes, whether it comes to fruition, we'll know, at some point in time. But I agree with you, Dave, that I don't think that it's of course they're hiring their old friend again. I don't think that's the case at all in this situation. Look, I think that Shane Doan, to Ezzy's point, is a respected hockey mind, whether or not, and we don't know the particulars of what he was involved with in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization, or the particulars that he was involved with in the, we remember, if you go back to the Coyotes, after he retired from the Coyotes, John Chayka, who's now, of course, the general manager in Toronto, was the one who basically kicked him to the curb. Chayka was, I think he was 25 years old. He was arrogant. He was a punk, and he treated Doan with a great deal of disrespect. So I think that, that was what ended Doan's relationship with the Coyotes organization back in the day. Then he went to Toronto, and he's, of course, been involved in hockey. And we know that his son, Josh, is a quality member of the Buffalo Sabres and an up-and-coming young player.
Maybe Chevy's playing 3D chess, Desi. Maybe he's bringing Doan in so he can bring in his kid.
Well, not necessarily bringing his kid in. Maybe he's bringing Austin Matthews to Winnipeg as a result, because we know the ties between Austin Matthews and Shane Doan going back to Arizona minor hockey and things of that nature. My tongue, by the way, firmly in cheek when I say that. I don't expect that Austin Matthews is imminently about to become a member of the Winnipeg Jets. The more smart hockey minds you can have in your organization, I think the better you are going to be. Mm-hmm. Now, the Jets, and Murat wrote about this in his most recent mailbag for The Athletic, like I said, have always been very lean. There's no salary cap when it comes to educated hockey minds. So the more money you can pour, and look, it's not my money to spend, it's True North's money to spend, the more smart hockey people you can have in your organization, I think your organization is going to be better off for that. So that would lead me to my question for you guys is, why now? Is this the organization sitting back and saying, look, the last year was a disaster. It's now time for us to, cast a wider net when it comes to intelligent voices that we listen to with vis-a-vis player development, vis-a-vis player acquisition, vis-a-vis talent evaluation. Is that why the timing of a senior advisor role is now, if it ends up coming to fruition? Is it just a ramification of last year's disaster of a season?
I think it's a bit of that, boys, but I think it's also Shane Doan, like you said, Drew, is now available because, it's kind of, I don't know if it's irony or just a bad coincidence that John Chayka, happened to be who the Leafs hired because of what you said. Chayka, the way he did Shane Doan was not right in Arizona. I definitely agree with you on that, but I think it's also because of how critical we are in the juncture of the Jets, right? And their trajectory, or where they're at in their pursuit of the cup, right? I think that has a lot to do with it, right? Like, we've talked about it for weeks now as we wait for Chevy to make some moves, right? Like, this is one of the more important off seasons. Not that they aren't all important off seasons, but this off season specifically, because as you mentioned, Drew, you're coming off of the big 34-point drop, and there's more significant holes on this roster than I think there have been in maybe 4 or 5 years, right? Like, we saw clearly the Jets were a one-line team last year. If Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde weren't going, then you weren't getting a lot of secondary scoring. That was well documented. So I would imagine, again, I'm just speculating, but I would imagine the reason why, they're courting Shane Doan is because, they'd like to have someone. They've identified that they'd like to have someone else, at the top with Chevy and Larry Simmons, making these important decisions. And, we should also mention, like, not only was Shane Doan working for the Leafs, but like, he has a history working with Team Hockey Canada. Shane Doan, right, with like the World Hockey Championship. And I don't know if he's been involved with the Spengler Cup days, but he's definitely been involved with Hockey Canada as well in executive roles, right? So, but I think it's to your point, Drew, that it's because of how crucial this offseason is going to be that they're looking at what's ahead of them not just the draft, but free agency and what we think, there might be a big blockbuster trade coming, or at the very least, a trade that's going to address some of the Jets' needs. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And like I said, the fact that, Shane Doan's available, like we already mentioned, he applied to be the GM of the Canucks, which obviously Manny Malhotra got. So I guess they have to take
Manny Malhotra got a head coach.
Yeah.
Sorry, head coach.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson got.
Sorry. Ryan Johnson, you're right, Drew. Yeah. Ryan Johnson, GM, Manny Malhotra, coach. Let me get that right.
And Caleb Malhotra is going to be their draft pick.
Exactly. They still have to draft Caleb Malhotra, though. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think when look, guys like Shane Doan don't just grow on trees, right? So, like we said, we don't know if Shane Doan's going to be hired, but I certainly think it could only help.
Let me ask this: if it's not Shane Doan, if he doesn't come to an agreement, whatever, I mean, who knows? Do you think that the Jets are, still casting for somebody else to join the front office, or is this a Shane Doan or bust situation, or do you think that the organization has really, maybe, acknowledged, that maybe they're too insular, maybe they need to add some outside voices, maybe they need to add a different set of eyes, be it a Shane Doan, be it anybody else with the appropriate resume, Dave? Do you think that there's going to be, regardless if it's not Shane Doan, do you think there's going to be additions to the hockey operations team during this offseason?
Well, I mean, Ezzy, have you been checking? Is it Zilla? Is that the where people post job opportunities or whatever it's called?
No, Zilla's the real estate one. Indeed is for jobs.
Sorry.
Oh no, sorry, Dave. It's actually Farmers Only. That's the
website. So I mean, look, we haven't seen anything. We haven't gotten wind. I think Ezzy's right. I think opportunity has presented itself with Shane Doan becoming available, and now teams, whether he's appealing to teams in terms of like the Canucks, or if the Jets are courting him, that seems to be just more circumstance than a plan from the Winnipeg Jets organization to go out and try and augment their group in some capacity, Drew. So it kind of seems like it's Shane Doan or bust, because we haven't really heard anything to the degree of the Jets looking around the NHL trying to add. Now it's possible they have been, and we just don't know about it, but I mean, again, like I said, I think the idea of having more voices in there and more diversity and trying to get in some sort of, fresh blood and someone that's going to bring some fresh ideas isn't necessarily a bad thing for the Winnipeg Jets organization. And to get them, maybe again, this is like, as he said, I mean, you had a 34-point drop from a President's Trophy first place in the league to out of the playoffs and looking on. And we look at the teams that are in the playoffs right now, fast, big, strong, and the Jets have a ways to go, right? I mean, there's definitely some cause for concern when you thought to yourself, Jonathan Taves, Gustav Nyquist, and Tanner Pearson were going to somehow be enough to augment your group. Now, there's obviously things that happened to the Jets main group that caused them to go off kilter, if you will. But having someone in there to maybe, quash the Luke Shen second and a fourth trade maybe wouldn't have been such a bad thing for the Winnipeg Jets organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely valid. I just don't see. It seems like if you run back status quo, people are going to say, "Oh, where are the ramifications for last season's disaster?" And so this is where, like I said, it might not be Shane Doan, it might be somebody else, it might be nobody else. If it's nobody, then I think those questions are valid. I mean, then time will tell on that front. I also think it's worth noting that for a role like this, a senior advisor, a special assistant, whatever the role title ends up being, I don't expect that's going to necessitate the person moving or require the person moving to Winnipeg full time. I don't think that they're going to uproot their lives. I think they're going to be another asset for the organization to tap into. You want to cast a web. You want to cast a web, wide and far. It's a big league with cities all throughout North America. Breaking news on that front, I know, folks. But I think it's important that you have, your respected voices all throughout the entirety of the league. And so I don't expect that all of a sudden, you'll see a Shane Doan type player obviously in the press box or in the, around the team at times, but I don't expect that he's going to be there, 82 games a year, traveling here and there and everywhere with the team itself. It's not that kind of hands-on role. It's an advisory role. It's a 10,000-foot role. It's a let's, talk things through role. And I think after a certain number of years where it's only the same voices in the room, Zinger, Larry Simmons, Kevin Cheveldayoff, Mark Chipman, it's important that you add other voices into that conversation as well.
Absolutely, Drew. And another guy that I've been thinking about that could be an option for this role is Blake Wheeler, right? And Blake Wheeler has a similar type of job with the New York Rangers. I think he's called hockey operations advisor or special advisor in New York. So he's another guy that I've thought about. But I think that's the type of person that you're looking at. But I think to Drew's point, the reason why you can make the argument, I would make the argument that it's important to have another fresh set of eyes with the Jets executive, is because of some of the shortcomings that we've seen for management, whether that's signings, whether that's how they've handled some of their prospects. Like, I still can't believe, guys, that Ville Heinola reaches the hockey pinnacle and wins a gold with Team Finland, and they're going to lose him to free agency. When wouldn't he look good as a third pairing left shot defenseman this year?
Well, I think the question is, why did he never get that opportunity after so many years? Like, and who knows? I mean, who knows if he would have had that success at the NHL level like he did at the World Hockey Championships? But to your point, Ezzy, was the organization wearing, were they wearing blinders? Were they being stubborn in refusing to consider the possibility that this is a player who had matured, who had developed, who had whatever, to give him at least an opportunity in that role, where the organization really for the entirety of this past season refused to do so in any legitimate way, shape, or form? I mean, and maybe they're right at the NHL. It's hard for me to imagine that Ville Heinola is going to come in, even after the success he had overseas in Switzerland at the World Hockey Championships, and become a bona fide NHL regular. I don't foresee that happening. But why, given the way the season was going, why did the organization refuse to even consider it? Are they wearing blinders too much? Is there a need for that other voice to say, hey guys, take your blinders off for a second. Let's maybe look to see what we might actually have here, or give it a fair evaluation. I think that's fair. And that's reasonable.
Maybe that's why they forgot to congratulate him on winning the gold medal.
Well, that was also a faux pas.
Very bizarre, by the way. That was a very bizarre decision by the Jets.
I honestly think it was just, I don't think there was malice. I'd be surprised if there's malice involved in that decision.
Don't
you remember years ago, Dave, that when they forgot to wish Jacob Trouba a happy birthday? This is, I think, the year after.
Okay, but here's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not like it was Ezzy's birthday and your birthday, and I wished one of you guys happy birthday. In this instance, Nino Niederreiter got the silver. He didn't win the silver. He got the silver, and they congratulated him. Ville Heinola won the gold, and they didn't. That's bizarre. It's weird.
I would hope that there's first of all that it's just that it's not petty. I would hope that there's no need for that kind of pettiness, and it's deliberate. And I mean, I would hope.
I mean, it could just be indifference. Look, Drew, it could be indifference. As he says, he's a free agent. He's going to sign. He's not signing with the Jets. I just thought it was a bizarre thing to do to not acknowledge the fact that he won.
I'm with you, Dave. And also, is he not technically still under contract?
Of course, July 1st. Until July 1st.
Right. So, he still is technically a member of the Jets, whether or not we think he's going to stay. And after that, by the way, guys, how could you keep him after not acknowledging that he won the gold medal?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I was going to say
they weren't going to keep him anyways, but
no, of course not. But the point was that they were talking about the 5 Jets players at World Championships, right? They were talking about the 3 Canadians, the 1 Finn, and the 1 Swiss. So I guess Leon Gavanke was ignored, but he's a San Jose Shark. Again, like I said, it's a very I saw it and I thought, oh, okay, they congratulated Nino, and you're kind of sitting around waiting. You're like, bizarre. And again, people were. I mean, we just acknowledged it on illegalcurve.com, and I thought we acknowledged everything that happened at the World Championships as we report on everything.
You need to mine content this time of year any which way you can, Dave M.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, I just thought it was bizarre that that they chose not to, whether deliberate or an oversight, Drew. It's still a curious decision from the Winnipeg Jets organization. And you know, it's just kind of, it puts egg on their face for no reason. I mean, you just wish the guy congratulations. Take you 30 seconds to make the graphic, and you go about your day. And you know, to your point, Drew, I mean, if you look at the Jets page, it's not as if they're putting out content on a daily basis. So to be able to like create something, as Ezzy says, you have until July 1st. May as well do a quick story on it. Gives you some content for your website. So like I said, I thought it was curious. And it's definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah, you're not wrong about it. You've got me going down a bit of a rabbit hole, though, Ezzy. So Blake Wheeler's title with the New York Rangers is Hockey Operations Advisor. Director of Player Development for the New York Rangers, Tanner Glass.
Yep.
So, and then you go in the Player Development Assistant for the continent of Europe, Antti Miettinen. We can bring back Mittens, Tanner Glass, and Blake Wheeler if the Jets organization wants to raid the Rangers organization.
Well, I'm pretty sure
Thorburn works for the Blues.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's Jimmy Slater?
At least one of those
Michigan
players
State
is going to be here for the alumni game, right? So, I mean, why not bring all these guys back? I mean, Antti Miettinen had a legendary career with the Jets, obviously, but no, I mean, they
should bring back the entire GST line for the alumni game.
Absolutely.
That would be fun. But anyways, I found it as I was looking at Blake Wheeler's exact title for the Rangers on the Rangers organization. That those are the names that jumped out at me. Oh, Mark Flood is even there as a professional scout, so you can add Mark Flood to the list.
Mark Flood used to be with the Senators, and then he just joined the Rangers, I think, last year.
There you go, Dave M. Oh, my God, what are you're doing deep dives into all the different scouts.
No, but because I would talk to Mark Flood when I see him in the press box. Nice guy.
There you go. Okay. And
then once said to me, and I quote, "Nice kicks."
Nice. Oh, I've seen your kicks. They're very rarely are they nice. What shoes were you wearing?
I don't remember.
Do you have multiple? You usually just wear a pair of black loafers. I think you're a black penny loafer kind of guy.
No, please.
With tassels on them.
Okay. Easy there, Drewski.
Yeah, come on.
In any event, the Shane Doan question is one that's going to be worth keeping an eye on, of course, over the coming weeks, and we'll see where things develop on that front. Sean Reynolds set to join us coming up here momentarily as we'll delve deeper into the Winnipeg Jets. It's nice not to start the show at least talking about potential trades for the first time in a while, but we are getting closer and closer to the silly season.
We're not talking about the Jets acquiring Dylan Larkin. I assume that's why we're all wearing red there, Drew.
Well, the Dylan Larkin question. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I mean, again, I don't expect that Dylan Larkin's going to become a member of the Winnipeg Jets, but boy, does he not exactly what the Winnipeg Jets would need. I mean, his contract.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What are you saying, Andrew? No, I was going to say the contract is great. It actually expires in 2031, the same year that most of the Jets contracts expire. So it fits with the timeline of everything. I mean, he's as good as Scheifele is. Maybe even you could argue better than Scheifele. So maybe Mark, you got 1A and 1B when it comes to your two centermen up the middle.
I did see that someone said that he scored 1 5-on-5 goal in his last 42 games.
Well, look, I think he had a bad last half of the year, but I think it's because he was injured. I think that he was playing through something. Because remember, when the Jets went to Detroit New Year's Eve, if I recall correctly, that's where they played on New Year's Eve, and then they went to Toronto the next day to play the Leafs. That disaster of a game in Toronto where the Jets had a sizable lead and then they lost it. Detroit was the top team in the NHL at that point in time, if I recall correctly, back on December the 31st. So we know that the wheels totally came off. But certainly Dylan Larkin, I think, is going to be sought after. This is the best part. Look what color shirt Rennie's wearing.
I saw
Sean Reynolds wearing red. It's like you knew that we were all wearing red today. Nice to see you're still wearing your Spurs hat, though. Given I think Wemby hit you in the back of the shoulder with that pass at the end of the game last night.
Yeah. You know what? I hate to be that guy who's like the future looks bright for your team. They've done some special things these playoffs so far. I know that they're trying to do something that's never been done before, but if they did do it, I wouldn't be crazy surprised. It's been a really interesting team they're so young and they've adapted along the way that just when you think they're down, they kind of come flying back. They almost did it last game. But when you have a young team, you have to have the idea that this may be the only time you get there, right? So many young teams are like, we're so good right now. Like, and it's crazy how good the Spurs are and how young they are. You would think there's going to be, a long runway ahead of them. But the fact of the matter is we've seen too many times, guys, in all professional sports that sometimes when you get there, that's the only chance you get, and got to take advantage of it. They're not taking advantage of it.
So, Sean, I have a question for you. You're obviously the Tim Duncan of Kenny and Rennie. Does that make Kenny like Manu Ginobili? Like who is he?
He's no David Robinson.
Yeah. I'd like to find just like a name that no one would recognize. Yeah, just give me someone who you have to be like, that guy played for the Spurs. That's what you'd need to do to find Kenny's likeness on that team.
He's a Steve Kerr.
Yeah, that's still too good. You're giving him way too much credit, Dave. Way too much credit.
Did he play for the Spurs after the Bulls?
Yeah, he won a championship.
He won 2 championships with San Antonio, I think.
Oh, okay.
Right, but he won. I believe he won. Did he win 4 in a row? Because he did the second
3
half
with the
with
the Bulls. Yeah.
The Spurs were the team that won first. I don't want to say they ended the Bulls run, because the Bulls ended their own run. They just decided they were sick of winning championships, and then the Spurs were the ones waiting in the wings. But he flipped over to the Spurs for that championship.
It is amazing, and I'm certainly not the first person to mention that, but that the Spurs organization goes from David Robinson to Tim Duncan to Wemby. I mean, talk about lottery luck. That is the organization that has certainly had the most lottery luck shine down on it, but it's also one of the most well-run organizations in the NBA. We know that, Greg Popovich, of course, is the head coach there for so many years and was such a driving force. It's just amazing how a well-run organization can sort of consistently stay relevant, even in a smaller market like San Antonio.
And good people, right? Like David Robinson was like, so I started cheering for the Spurs in 1992, and I loved David Robinson, like absolutely adored him. When you're a young kid and you're really into sports and you've got your heroes, like I loved David Robinson. Great person, super high character, takes that character. Tim Duncan comes along, and Tim Duncan ends up being a super high character guy. He probably was going to be anyway, but the idea that he gets to mentor under David Robinson takes him to that next level of good person, good character, all those kind of things. And one of the things that the Spurs did really well was as soon as Wemby came in, those guys really took him under their wing. I know they've been retired for a long time, and it's crazy to think David Robinson's 7'1", Duncan, I think, was 7'2" or something like that. Have you guys ever seen that picture where it's a bunch of the sports legends and Wemby, and you were like, David Robinson is the biggest man in any room he's ever been in, unless he's in a room with Wemby, who's a head taller than the rest of those guys, right? The one thing that's really impressed me about Wemby, if you hear him talk, he's like not one of those guys who's afraid to call themselves out. He's not one of these, I liked our game when they lost last night, right? And come out and BS you to your face. They'll like, he says the truth. And what I love about guys like that is they say the truth. And then that because they're willing to say the truth and this is a problem, that they're willing to attack that problem. They're not hiding from the problem. And I've been blown away. Not only, this is a kid who's on his way to being, in the conversation of one of the all-time GOATs, but just how he carries himself at such a young age is crazy. I don't know how much basketball your audience watches, but for guys like us who cover the sports and who cover characters and cover athletes, man, he's an impressive athlete to see at that age.
More of the Illegal Screen basketball show coming up a little bit later here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, but we'll bring it back to hockey. We talked, you mentioned there, Sean, we were talking about it earlier, about organizations and quality organizations and having quality people within your organization. The news earlier this week, Kenny, Mike McIntyre reporting that the Jets had been in discussions with Shane Doan about potentially joining the front office in a yet-to-be-determined title role in the Winnipeg Jets front office. My question for you would be, why now do you think that is the time for what has largely been a very insular, very lean front office organization? Why now are they beginning to sort of maybe broaden their wings and look for some new voices?
Well, good organizations, and it's funny, you go back and you look at teams that end up in the Stanley Cup Final. And if you actually trace their path there, it's just picking up one good person after another. I'm a big believer that if you're an organization and there's a quality individual out there that you can grab, you grab them, right? And you figure it out, right? You grab them first and you figure it out where you're going to fit them or what they're going to do or what that voice is going to mean. Sometimes you never find that fit and people move on. But I can tell you this, like Shane Doan is a quality individual, as we were talking about. He was, and you could see it way back in the days when he was a Winnipeg Jet back in the 95-96 season. And then he goes and ends up being probably like the most important Phoenix/Arizona Coyote in the history of that organization, and is just really kind of like the lighthouse for that organization. I was talking about Wemby and how he's, has that ability to just like call a spade a spade. When he was still playing, I loved talking to Shane Doan in the dressing room because he would just be brutally honest about what was happening with that team. And that can be hard to do, guys, on a team that struggled as much as the teams that he was on back in those days, to, be able to say like, this is the problem and not hide from the problem. He was always really good with that. I've heard nothing but good things about him since he stepped up into the front office. Heard this, just a quick aside, heard this story this year about the Boston Bruins and how they had a rough year last year and kind of turned things around. And one of the things that I was told was happening in the background is they were bringing Zdeno Chara back into the dressing room. They weren't trying to make him like the guy, but he was kind of going in and mentoring, this is what we do. This is how leaders talk to their players. This is how we treat each other. And just having that presence in the room is modeling it. Boston feels like they lost their way for a little bit, and they sent in that guy to bring that in. That was Shane Doan for years, and that's the value that guys like that have. People still remember them from their playing days, right? They respect them because of how they carried themselves. And so having those kind of guys around are great because he's smart. He's got a lot that he can add to the Winnipeg Jets, but boy, oh boy, the more you expose guys like Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor or Connor Hellebuck to guys like that, the better it is. And I think that the Winnipeg Jets were a team that was screaming at one time. I know a lot of you feel the same way. Some of you were very vocal, like I've been the entire time, about what I didn't like about the Jets culture for a lot of years. So anytime you can bring in people that, a guy like Mark Scheifele, as much as he's come along, will be able to turn and look and see that guy and how they conduct themselves, even if it's by osmosis, that it washes over them and they start conducting themselves a little bit more in that manner. It's only a good thing. I think it would be a brilliant hire, and anytime you can do that and have a Jets connection like Shane Doan does, it's a no-brainer.
So Sean, we're almost exactly 3 weeks away from the 2026 NHL Draft, and I wanted to ask you where you sit right now on whether the Jets are going to make that 8th overall pick, because personally I feel like it's up in the air right now. I'm leaning towards the Jets making that pick, but when you talk about all the different holes on this roster, it seems like that the first round pick should be one of those assets that the Jets are entertaining trading to fill those holes.
Yeah, it's a real canary in the coal mine situation of what they end up doing with that. I can tell you this. I think the Jets management have wanted that pick. Like as the year was unveiling the way it did and things were going the way they were, I think the organization was all in on, okay, we're getting a high pick this year, right? Not that they don't every year throw a lot into scouting, but I think there was a real anticipation of we got a shot at a pick. And I do think, guys, that to a degree, there was a little bit of like forced smile by the management as the Jets made that push towards the playoffs at the end of the year, in that this is great unless they miss the playoffs, and then this is absolutely terrible. I think that that's a real true thing that was happening. I think that they were hoping to get, a top 5 picker or something like that, where they would have ended up. Regardless, to me, I think the organization knows that it needs to start restocking the cupboard. I think the organization has really focused in and thought to itself, this is one area where we clearly haven't done well. they're not the kind of organization to come out and bluntly state that. Like we talked about the real talk. That's not the Winnipeg Jets. That's not Winnipeg Jets management. Their real talk is saying absolutely nothing. That's their idea of real talk. But I think that they would say, if you could get that real talk, they'd say, we have really fallen down. We need to get better. And that was going to be an opportunity to kind of signal starting with that. And then I think the Connor Hellebuyck availability at the end of the year, and I wouldn't say it's the availability. I think things had been said in the general manager's room and the coach's room before he came out and talked to us. But that kind of signaled that the star players on this team are like, yeah, well, no, that's not what we're interested in as a rebuild here, because I'm Connor Hellebuyck. I'm 33 years old. So is Mark Scheifele. So is Adam Lowry. That's not going to help us. That's not going to help us win this championship. And I've said it before, guys, like Connor Hellebuyck, people, let's say this. Let's say Connor Hellebuyck, the summer happens and they don't make any moves. And Connor Hellebuyck is like, this isn't what I signed up for. I'm out of here. A lot of fans are going to be upset with him. And I don't think they have a right to be, because Kevin Cheveldayoff promised Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Adam Lowry, and Connor Hellebuyck that they were going to do whatever they could do to win a championship every single year for those guys. And those guys said it when they re-signed. They said, that's why we re-signed. And so if you don't do that and throw that 8th round pick in and try and make something happen, you are not fulfilling the promise that management made to those players. So back to the 8th pick, if the 8th pick sits there and the Jets pick it, and I don't think it's a bad move for the Jets to pick it, it means that they weren't able to swing a deal for the kind of players that Connor Hellebuyck wanted in. And now it means that because the Winnipeg Jets don't get the high-end free agents coming into town here like that you're going to do what the Jets have done every year. And it's like trying to find a way to find those subtle value players, bring them in, and let's see if we can put something together here. That is not what Connor Hellebuyck is asking for. And for the first time ever, I'm really seeing a team where its biggest star, and I would suggest maybe behind the scenes, its other big stars are kind of at odds with the direction of where the management is going on this team.
Well, Sean, somewhat in connection to the question from Drew, I mean, Jonathan Toews is a player that when we spoke to him at the end of season media availability, he wasn't telling us one way or the other. He said, well, I'm going to take some time to think about it. Ken and Sean reported it. Darren Dreger reported it. Basically said the expectation is leaning towards retirement. Number one, I guess, is does that surprise you? And then number two, similar to this idea of Shane Doan, could you see Jonathan Toews in a role where, he's an advisor to the Winnipeg Jets now that he's kind of reignited his passion for hockey?
Well, first of all, I'm not one bit surprised, because at the end of the year, we saw him kind of like dabbing up every player in the room and signing sticks and hugging it. It looked like a high school graduation, see you or maybe more so a university graduation, because you're even less likely to see those people after graduation than you are to see the high school folks. So it goes to show you the power of the media, that I think you guys have probably saying it for the most part. I think you probably said it on your podcast right afterwards. I know that myself and Ken both said, like, he's out of here. We don't expect him to come. That's the power of like a journalist the size of Darren Dreger, who reports it's likely that he's not coming back, when in this market we've been saying he's not coming back for months now. There's no new information. There's no, hey, Jonathan Toews is not coming back. It's like, you know what? It's unlikely he's coming back. And then it's news, right? Because of the size of the person who's delivering it. This is nothing has changed to me here, guys. Like, this is for the outside hockey world. Darren Dreger grabbed their eyes and turned them towards the situation and said, this is probably happening. For us, our eyes have been on this situation the whole time, and we know it's probably not happening. As far as the bringing him in for a role like that, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the idea of the lifestyle that Jonathan Toews wants. Did Jonathan Toews want to come back to Winnipeg and play for the Winnipeg Jets because he wanted to come back to Winnipeg? I think that, like, there's going to be a hierarchy here. If the Chicago Blackhawks organization wants anything to do with it, like we saw the send-off that he got when he was in Chicago, I'm a believer that there's going to be a statue of Jonathan Toews outside the United Center at some point. it was great that he came home, and he said all the right things about the Winnipeg Jets and what a dream it was to play for the Winnipeg Jets. But let's not get this mixed up here, guys. 10 years from now, the only people who are going to remember Jonathan Toews in a Jets jersey are people like us and the fans watching this show. For the rest of the hockey world, they're going to see a picture of Jonathan Toews in a Jets jersey, and they're going to be like, man, I forgot he played for them, right? It's going to be like Bobby Orr in a Chicago Blackhawks jersey, right? Like this is, so to me, listen, if Jonathan Toews has decided that he wants to be home and he wants to spend more time around the family, and Winnipeg is where he wants to be, I could see it happening. If the Winnipeg Jets are interested in having a role where it's like you just need to check in every once in a while in Winnipeg and you can go live your life in Thailand and Sri Lanka and wherever you want to, take your life in that moment, then fine. So would you want that kind of person in the organization? Of course. I have no idea, no guesses as to what Jonathan Toews wants his future to look like and how that would fit in being in Winnipeg.
Sean Reynolds, our guest here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now here Saturday morning. Now, Rennie, you were on the road a bunch for the playoffs.
You bet. I'll be back at Game 5. I just got home from Game 2, so yeah.
There you go. Back for Game 5 to Carolina then in that case. What have you learned sort of watching all the teams you've seen, all the playoff success that you've seen in front of you? What have you learned that you can maybe extrapolate onto the Winnipeg Jets and the True North organization and their hopes to come back to being a playoff-bound successful franchise?
Okay, you know what? I thought that Eastern Conference Final was a real like I was talking on some show and I said, I don't want to make this about the Winnipeg Jets, but I'm going to make it about the Winnipeg Jets, right? Because what I saw in that series was a Carolina Hurricanes team that is like unbelievably structured and smothers you and outworks you and like the Winnipeg Jets of last year and the couple of years before that, right? Like just we're going to pressure you so much that when you get the puck, you're just going to flip it back to us and then we're going to start again and we're going to roll on you, right? And that was like that's the Mandalorian and Grogu. This is the way. That's what the Winnipeg Jets should be doing. That's how they succeed. For years, the Winnipeg Jets were a little bit more like the Montreal Canadiens team, a team that would like bend but not break, but give us one chance, right? Outshoot us 10-2, and we're going to be up 1-0 after the first period, right? Those were the two versions of the Winnipeg Jets that we've seen for a lot of years. I think for a lot of years, the Jets were that get caved in, but be up 1-0 by choice. They didn't want to put in the effort, and they thought, we'll outscore you. We'll just pop up and get a goal here, go there. We'll frustrate you and we'll win. And that's fine. And it gets you to a certain distance. It does not get you to a Stanley Cup. You don't point to me any team in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs that has, kind of like bent but not broken their way entirely to the Stanley Cup through a bunch of good teams, right? So Montreal has a lot to learn. The Jets need to get back to kind of what the Carolina Hurricanes are. The one thing I've said about that, though, is the Winnipeg Jets and what I saw from them in the playoffs last year, like the Carolina Hurricanes, their strength is their structure. Adhere to that structure and they can ride that really far. But if you've got a good coach that can break that structure. And I think John Montgomery did that with the St. Louis Blues. And that's why everything got kind of ugly in that series. And the number 1 seed in the playoffs and the 16th seed in the playoffs were that close and a lucky bounce away from the Jets getting knocked off in that series. This is the bellwether test for me here. Can the Carolina Hurricanes structure and outwork their way to a Stanley Cup against a team that is just quite simply an amazing roster? And if you go over it year after year after year, usually if you see the teams that win and you go back and you look at their roster, you're like, oh my God, that's an amazing roster. The one that always stands out to me is for years, everyone said Mario Lemieux is way better than Wayne Gretzky because he doesn't have good players. And Wayne Gretzky's got all these great players. Well, have you ever looked at the rosters of those 92 and 91 Penguins teams? It's like Mark Recchi, Francis, who's like a top 5 player of all time, the second highest scoring defenseman all time, Yager, the second highest scoring player of all time, like stacked rosters. And so here's the deal is like, if Carolina wins, to me, it's good news for teams like Winnipeg, because it means you can get the right players who fit a system, and you can system your way to a Stanley Cup victory against superior rosters. Winnipeg, I don't know how they did it in 2018, had the superior roster. They're probably never going to have the superior roster again, so they need to find a way to be that team. The Blues did it in 2019. Other than that, typically the best roster wins.
And Sean, I don't even think you mentioned Brian Trottier when you were talking about those early
No.
right?
Larry Murphy. Like it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's like stacked roster.
Sean, I could talk about those teams forever because Mario Lemieux was my favorite player growing up. So yeah, those Penguins teams were absolutely stacked.
Scott Stevens was your favorite player growing up. You can't have multiple favorite players growing up.
It was Mario, right? Because like when
you're
we were
like,
that age, you were either a fan of Mario or Gretzky, or I guess throw Howard Chuck in there as well, right? But anyways, getting back to the Jets, Sean, two players that I'm really interested to see if they're moved or bought out. I think you know where I'm going with this. Vlad Nemesnikov, Nino Niederreiter. Like, what's your take on that? I don't know if they're both gone next year, but with a bunch of young players that are kind of knocking at the door, like whether that's Isak Roseanne, whether that's Brad Lambert, Danny Zhilkin, players like this, like, do you think that the Jets are going to move on from one or two of those guys?
Well, so I don't think so, because that's just two more spots to fill for a team that has a hard time filling spots, right? And I'm not against what you're saying there, Ezzy. Like the idea of being like, okay, let's go young. Like I was the guy who floated the idea of like, if you decided to trade the core and move on from, sorry, I'm not the only guy. I'm one of the guys who sees the idea of like, listen, if you really thought that there's not a Stanley Cup in the future for this group, it's never going to be, you're never going to have more draft or trade capital than you do right now in this moment. But let's say we go down that road and they buy out Nemesnikov and they buy out Nino and send them. Now you've got two more spots to fill. And you say, well, if we aren't able to really get the UFAs that we're looking for, we'll just fill it with young guys. Well, what's Connor Hellebuck's response to that going to be? You know what I mean? Like we're in a situation here right now, and this is how it's perceived. I can tell you this on the outside of Winnipeg I think it's perceived like this in Winnipeg. In the outside of the hockey world, it's very much perceived like this. And in a lot of the sources that I'm talking to, it's extremely perceived like this. Connor Hellebuck has a gun to the Winnipeg Jets head saying, make the moves or there's a problem here, right? So if the moves are moving on from established players and saying it's time to give these young guys, hey, push them out of the nest and spread their wings and fly, that's not what Connor Hellebuck's here for. So Connor Hellebuck has, for the very first time ever, put the shot clock on, back to basketball, guys, put the shot clock on Kevin Cheveldayoff, because he's never had an owner who's put the shot clock on him before. He's never really had players who've put the shot clock on him before. The market in itself has never really put the shot clock on him before. Kevin Cheveldayoff has got to operate in a system where it's slow and steady wins the race. And for the first time ever, someone took the old egg timer in the kitchen, twisted it, sat it, and it is ticking in the middle of the table. And so if you move guys like that on, and your solution is probably going to be going to the younger guys, I think that means that your star goaltender is telling you that he's out of here.
Sean, isn't it time for the Jets as an organization, though, to kind of make that decision? I mean, like they're trying to straddle the fence, and it just isn't going to work. And for years, especially because they've sent so many of the draft picks away, they've been drafting later and later in rounds, obviously because they were finishing higher. So they don't have a prospect pool that is particularly deep. They have an aging core that really, if you're going to go for it, it's in the next few years. But the problem is the Jets are trying this middle strategy and it doesn't work. So is it not? I mean, I think I know your answer, but it really is for Kevin Cheveldayoff. I mean, you have to say this is the time for you to just make that decision, because you can't keep doing what you're doing because you're not having a success. 17-18 was the last time this team went to the third round, right? And the only time, I should say. So the fact of the matter is, what you're doing. Sure, you were a President's Trophy winner 2 years ago, and I'm not maligning that because you had to accomplish that. But at the same time, this is a results-based business in theory, and the results aren't there to justify what you're doing. So isn't it time to kind of have a come to Jesus moment, if you will?
So in the end, and I've said this before, you have to decide, do we really think that this team, this core is going to win a Stanley Cup? What about this core that has been together for a long time and has had the opportunity since 2018? And what we've seen has been more, like let down and failure than success, right? So this isn't a team that's here. Look at the Carolina Hurricanes. I didn't think that they'd be here. I don't think a lot of people thought that they'd be here, right? But they've kept going, and a lot of people haven't looked at them as a threat, and they've been going to the conference final year after year after year. The Jets got there once in 2018. It's like, a bodily function for the Carolina Hurricanes to go to the conference final, and now they're finally getting there. If you're looking at that team, that's a team that's been knocking on the door. We'll keep investing because we think that they'll get over the hump. Let's be honest, this core has never shown us that. That said, I think that Kevin Cheveldayoff and Mark Chipman and the management group have always really believed in this core and want it for this core. In the end, what's going to decide what they do here is Kevin Cheveldayoff's ability to bring players in, right? If he decides I'm going to trade the eighth and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, because he could just take everything that they have right now and package it up and say, future, bye-bye, we need something right now. And he could say, we're going to go get Dylan Larkin. And Dylan Larkin could say, I'm not going to Winnipeg. And it all falls through, right? Which is what Kevin Cheveldayoff has dealt with the whole time. Probably what is going to make this decision, or probably one of the things that keeps him in that, 1 foot in each world, Dave, is the idea that he's always trying to pull off that move and trying to do one thing, but he doesn't have as much control over that as other GMs do. So it's one of the reasons I think he's the mushy middle. Now, let's just say this. I personally think that this core is not the core that's going to win a championship. I think that if you package up a bunch of these guys, you could get like a belt of like early 20-year-old can't miss players. I've said this before. How much would Utah like Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele? And if you move them along and you got TJ Ginla and Caleb Denoye and their other first, that Anton Booth or something like that, or maybe you get one of their younger guys like Logan Cooley or something like that. And then you move Hellebuck for something. And then you've got like this exciting young core. I like the idea of that. A lot of people just want to see wins and they wouldn't like that, right? But regardless of it, if Kevin Cheveldayoff had his way, one or the other, and you could magically make it happen, he would mortgage the future and send it all down the road to bring it in and try and win in these next couple of years. That's what he would do. I'm very confident of that. So if he was able to pull that off, make no mistake about it, you'd have about 3 years with the older players that are on this roster to make something happen to win a cup. And then it's going to fall apart, and then it's going to be ugly because you have no future. You've bargained it for the right now. That's what he would do right now if he had his preference, if he could pull it off. I just think in the end, what is going to make this decision is them trying to do that and maybe not being able to either pulling it off or not being able to get it, because all those star players, Robert Thomas was on the market last year. Did the Jets even have enough to get a player like Robert Thomas out? He'd satisfy what you need on that second line, but the Jets are looking for a second line center. Guess who else is? Everyone else in the NHL. The Montreal Canadiens were in the Final Four and they need a 2C. Everybody's looking for it right now. So it is a seller's market, and you don't have a lot of money to buy for the Winnipeg Jets.
And the player doesn't have to come to your team if he doesn't want to, which is
exactly
a double kick in the teeth a little bit. Sean, we'll let you go on this last one. We always focus on that second line center, but I can't help but look at the Jets defense and say it's not up to snuff either. Is there a way to fix both this offseason, or is it maybe best case scenario you fix one of the two?
Well, I've got a list of like guys here that I think that they would like target in free agency. We know they've loved Jamie Alexiak forever, right? So they're going to make overtures to him. Maybe a guy like, and you know, a lot of the fans aren't going to be super huge on all these players. I'm putting guys that I think the Jets could maybe potentially pull off. You could go for a guy like Eric Goodbranson. People wouldn't be happy with that. He's an older, slower player. It would be kind of go with the Jets and how they've prioritized age and experience. Travis Hamonic is along that line. You want to go younger. You go for a guy like Jake Bean. You want to go for a guy who you know would come because he's been here before. You go back to a guy like Derek Forbert or something like that. They need to add size. They need to add shutdown ability. So that is something that I think the Jets, because you've got Josh Morrissey and the fit that he has with DeMello on your top pairing, you've got that taken care of. You know, things seem to be going, and you know, Sandberg, you can expect he'd take another step forward, so you're probably okay there. It would be nice to have some big guys on the back end that shut things down. You're going to need that because you moved on from those guys. To solve it all, like I just don't see that happening. Like I'm taking a look at this list of players who are going to be available. People always want to throw that like right away. I had people text me right away. Oh, Dylan Larkin's available. He's coming to Winnipeg. Like, I don't see that that's happening. I'm trying to be more like, well, this guy could potentially come. Like Eric Howla is a guy that I think has just bounced around the league. He's gone everywhere. He's at the stage now, like we saw with some of the players who came to the Jets last year, Tanner Pearson, guys like that. They're just trying to keep their career going and looking for a good situation. So Eric Howla did a lot of good things with Nashville last year. Maybe you could get a player like that. I could see them maybe going and trying to get Kevin Stenlund back, you know, and bring him and then make us, well, we don't have a lot of scoring, but we're harder to play against than we were last year, and we can lean on you a little bit more. And I think that takes a little bit of the pressure off Adam Lowry, because I think Adam Lowry's down year is a real big reason why the Jets struggled last year. But I don't know. You're looking at this list. It's getting to me like guys like Jaden Schwartz, David Perron, Joel Kiviranta, like those guys who fit in, the kind of guys that aren't going to be like sexy. They're either going to be older, which is going to drive a certain segment of the Jets fan base nuts, or it's going to be kind of unproven guys that you think you're going to be giving them a little bit more of an opportunity. I'll just say this. I don't think that this situation gets solved, Dave. Drew. I don't think it gets solved in the way that Connor Hellebuck wants it solved. Right.
If it doesn't get solved in the way Connor Hellebuck wants it solved, which, I mean, again, might be an impossible ask because of the trade.
If you're bringing in Derek Forbort, let me tell you, it's definitely not.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, so you know, if it doesn't get solved, you know, like you said, would you, if it doesn't get solved in the way Connor Hellebuck wants it to get solved, do you think that there's a viable chance that there's a trade request made after free agency begins on July 1st, for example?
Without a doubt. Like, I think it's a show me right now, or
July 15th, I'm on my way out.
Well, no, I mean, he doesn't have that choice. And the one thing that we know about, this is how I see that playing out. I do see a potential where Connor Hellebuck says, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what you promised me. I want out. And so Kevin Cheveldayoff does what he always does. He slow plays him, right? And Connor will kick up a fuss or whatever, and he'll say, Connor, we tried to move you. We didn't get back what we wanted. Just come into the season. And then he hopes to God that the Jets can hold it together and then maybe perform a little bit better and maybe be in the playoffs. And then maybe that's enough. That's the Kevin Cheveldayoff way. Sorry, I couldn't quite do it. Let's keep you around. Give us all you got. And, hey, maybe things aren't as bad as you think they are, right? Like, how many players, honestly, would have been gone from the Winnipeg Jets at one point if they didn't get slow played by Kevin Cheveldayoff somewhere along the line. But I do think that this is a scenario where this summer, if things don't go the way he wants to, Connor Hellebuck's 33 years old. He is going to he realizes his place in hockey history. He wins that gold medal, but he realizes what will be said about him when it's all said and done if he doesn't win a Stanley Cup. Connor Hellebuck is going to chase a Stanley Cup. Whether it's in Winnipeg or somewhere else, he's going to do it because he personally believes that his legacy rests heavily upon that, and he cares about his legacy. So he's going to do that one way or another. And I do think, like, to me, that I said it at the beginning to Ezzy, it's the canary in the coal mine. If the Jets draft that 8th overall pick, I think behind the scenes, there's problems.
Sean Reynolds, you know him from Sportsnet, you know him from Kenny and Rennie, you know him as a good friend of our program. Appreciate your time, appreciate your insight. Have a great weekend, Sean. We'll see you for Game 5 back in Carolina, right?
Yeah, I just want to say I missed you guys. It's been too long since we did this. I missed you. It's great to be back. Sean. Keep doing the good work.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again there, good buddy. There you go. Sean Reynolds joining us this morning here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by our friends at Play Now. We'll come back with hour number 2 of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you on a Saturday morning. Don't go anywhere.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca. For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey Winnipeg, Joe Carter here. I look forward to joining you in Winnipeg on June 4th for the Ray D JCC Ken Cronson Sports Dinner. See you in June. Don't be late.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Well, I guess I got to update the commercials. Totally forgot about doing that. But you and Dave and Ezzy and so many others had a great time Thursday night at the Rady dinner. So I got to hear from Joe Carter, got to hear from Cito Gaston, Rod Black, Master of Ceremonies. You guys had a great time there. Unfortunately, it was had a personal conflict that prevented me from being in attendance, but you guys spoke highly of the night. Big thanks to our friends at Rady JCC for, of course, partnering with us as one of our as the media sponsor, one of the media sponsors for the evening. Always a great time raising money for a great cause.
Absolutely, and I can speak for Dave when I say, Drew, you were definitely not missed.
Yeah, I saw that coming. I saw that coming from a mile away.
The Mandells were represented at the Rady dinner. I had a great conversation with Tanis, and I didn't see Sheldon, though.
He was at the bar.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, shout out to our buddy Zach Manuk and all the folks involved with putting on the Rady JCC dinner. I think Dave will agree. Cito Gaston and Joe Carter were incredible. Like, Dave tweeted out, that he could listen to these guys talk forever, and it's really true. I mean, like, watching all of those old highlights of the Jays winning the World Series, they were just great. And want to give a shout out to, we were at table one. Want to give out a shout out not only to Michael Windog of Ice Time Sports, Michael and Rob of Ice Time Sports, but also want to give a shout out to my buddy Neil Dawson of Jersey Chair, but more importantly, Harvey Manouk, who obviously is a big friend of the show. And yeah, like Drew said, lots of money was raised for the Rady JCC, and it was just a fun night. Yeah,
it was a lot of whoa, who switched? Who just switched us?
I don't know.
That was an Ezzy. That was Ez. I can see.
Sorry, it was an accident.
Yeah, no, it was nice sitting with Harv, cousin Harv, and the coach, and a bunch of like as he said, a bunch of good guys, and it was a lot of fun, and listening to those '90s Jay stories. Oh man, hearing the Derek Bell story told from their perspective, so good when they pranked Derek Bell and brought his car out, and hearing Joe Carter tell the story about how he was about to bring the car out during the 7th inning, and then the car wouldn't start, and so he just banged it. Eventually, got going. Like it was awesome. Good guys, some good stories. Both afraid of mosquitoes. They don't realize we don't have mosquitoes in Winnipeg anymore. So
wait till they find out about cankerworms, though.
Yeah, that's true. But no, it was a great night. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was the Jays, the early '90s Jays stories were pretty awesome.
Well,
so it was
like you said, Dave, when Cito Gaston walked out, he looks good. Joe Carter looks good too. Like they look like they could go out and win another World Series.
Now the Jays could use some help so far this season, so maybe guys sign him back up and get him back out there playing for the Blue Jays.
And it was, and you mentioned Rod Black, and it's so clear that he has such a relationship with those guys, and for so many years. So he was a great host to really share stories with. Showed off his Transcona roots as with his flamingo socks. So Rod Black did a really good job, I thought, communicating with those guys and sharing stories. And again, they showed some classic videos I don't think that even Joe Carter or Cito Gaston had seen probably since the early '90s. So. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a good night. And again, if you were a Jays fan back then, it was a treat to hear from those two.
No question about it. Also should mention, of course, the Bombers winning their season opener last night in Calgary. Dramatic last play of the game kick by Sergio Castillo. Mr. Automatic. You had no doubts about it as soon as they got him into field goal range. He was putting that kick right through the uprights. Really entertaining game in Calgary. Quality victory for the Bombers to start off 1-0.
And Brady Oliveira and Alex Bloomberg adopted another dog right after the game.
Well, they're doing great work when it comes to dogs and pet control and things of that nature. So kudos to them both. Dominant on the field. He was over, I think, 115 yards rushing last night. Brady Oliveira was.
I think that was at 137, Drew.
All right. Well, I said it was over 115.
Yeah.
So I mean, 137 is over 115.
No, I know, but 115 is a very specific number. Like it's like if you say over 100, I'd be like, okay, fine, but 115, very unusual.
I like to be just a little bit wrong. That's what I like to be. Is just a little bit wrong in my analysis.
You're actually
okay. Drewski will let it go.
You're actually absolutely correct. He was over 115 yards.
There you go. But yeah, it was a.
I only know because I saw someone tweet it. That's the reason.
Yeah. Okay. In any event, let's get back to hockey. Your thoughts on what Sean said about that? If the
Derek Forbert suggestion, not a good one.
less so that one, but that sort of speaks to the desperation that the organization might find themselves in.
Sorry, Drew, I don't mean to derail this, but I just will say, though, it was funny because if you all remember when Derek Forbert was with the Jets, we're like, oh, well, he's cooked. He's done. Then he went, didn't he go and score like 20 goals with that?
You're from Boston, right?
No, but he went to the Canucks. Don't you remember he went to the Canucks
first? Did he go to the Canucks and then Boston?
Yeah. And then and he scored a bunch. And I was like, oh, I guess Derek Forbert is not cooked. But anyways.
Now I gotta go to Hockey DB to pull it up to see the exact.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he went to the Canucks after the Jets.
I think
I'm like 99% certain.
No, he went to the Bruins after the Jets.
He did?
Yeah, he played 2020, 2021 for the Jets, 56 games. Then he played 3 seasons for the Bruins. And he got.
And Dave, I don't know about that 20-goal season you were talking.
Well, I didn't mean literally. I didn't mean literally.
In his entire NHL career, he has 19 goals.
No. I didn't mean literally 20 goals, but didn't he score like 5
It's
goals?
like 115 yards. It's close. It's somewhere in the vicinity.
Did he score 5 goals right after he played for the Jets the season after?
2 seasons. He had 4 goals for the Bruins the year after he played for the Jets. Then he
Yeah.
had 5
Yeah,
goals.
Dave,
So
5 goals, 20 goals, whatever.
Well, I didn't mean literally. He's a defenseman. I didn't really think he had 20 goals, guys, but holy Dinah.
anyways, back to what Sean was saying about
Yeah.
how, if the signs of improvement aren't there, if there's not tangible results, now these would be off-season results, which don't really count for much. Your thoughts about him saying that he could still foresee a situation where Connor Hellebuck requests his way out of town before the season begins?
Yeah, I think Sean's right. Like, I don't think. Look, I think it's hard to say now because the Jets haven't made the moves. Like we said, like we're still, in one of the chapters of the novel called "Waiting for Chevy," right? That's the situation we're in right now. We're waiting for Chevy to make all of these moves. So, I just don't see a situation where Chevy isn't really active. That's just me personally. Like, I don't know if that means trading the 8th overall pick, boys. I don't know if that means trading a prospect or a couple prospects, or if that's trading like a roster player. I'm not sure. But I think the Jets have so many holes on this roster right now. And maybe holes isn't they just need players. They need to improve the core. They need to surround the core with better players. Second line center, top pairing right shot defenseman. I think a depth forward in their bottom 6. I do like the idea of going younger this year, like with guys like Isaac Rosen and Danny Zhilkin and Brad Lambert, and we'll see where those guys fit in terms of line combinations. But yeah, Drew, I like put it this way: I don't think Connor Hellebuck was joking, right? Like I think Connor Hellebuck is serious when he says, this roster's got to be better if we want to compete with the Colorados and the Carolinas and the Dallases, the upper Vegas, the upper echelon teams of the NHL. So at this point, I still think I don't think Connor Hellebuck, like they're entertaining trading Connor Hellebuck, but everything changes, guys, if he requests a trade. I mean, then kind of, all bets are off type of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, it's look, I don't envy the situation that Kevin Cheveldayoff is currently finds himself in. Where the Jets, to your point, you asked Sean about it, Dave, where the Jets are really, they're at the fork in the road. Yeah. And you have 2 very serious competing interests that are pulling you in opposite directions. And so which interest is going to win out is not a surefire answer. There's no clear-cut decision to be made here. But continuing to straddle the fence, I mean, if you don't draft 8th overall.
Yeah.
And let's say you don't draft 8th overall, you trade the pick, and things go poorly again. Boy, you've even set yourself even further back at that point.
Well, I mean, the problem is you can't. You have to hit a home run, Drew. I mean, it has to be.
This isn't an organization that's hit very many home runs when it comes to drafting lately. I think that's also fair comment.
No, I meant if you make the trade, though. If you don't make the draft pick, if you don't select the draft pick and you make that trade, then it has to be something that's going to set your organization up, because you're essentially saying, look, we don't know. And there are so many of these guys who are surefire, going to look like this, going to be this. Now, again, top 10 is still top 10. And then the Jets, you go through it. They're going to get a good player if they make that selection. But we don't know. We don't know what it's going to do. I mean, this player drafted will immediately become the number 1 prospect in the pool, right? Undoubtedly. So, I mean, you're going to invigorate your pool by bringing in someone who's going to be able to do something that you don't have, which is going to become a cornerstone piece, whether it's a Vigo Bjork, who's going to become an excellent, from the sounds of it, center in the NHL eventually.
I will point out, so Vigo Bjork, the draft combine is ongoing in Buffalo. So they did measurements this morning. Vigo Bjork came in at 5'9", 180 pounds.
Yeah.
So, which we know he's not a biggest guy, but I mean, it's not, Gavin McCann came in at 5'11" and a quarter and 170 pounds. So I don't think it's, heads. It's not like, it's heads and shoulders that he's like 5'4", like Jose Altuve playing for the Houston Astros in baseball or anything like that. He's not teeny tiny. He's just not prototypically sized for a center.
For sure.
Drew, I'm 5'9", 260 for the record.
As these measurements are in, he actually had to fly to Buffalo to get those measurements precise. But my point is, or you've
been cutting weight before weigh-in, have you?
Yeah.
Daxon Rudolph, who obviously, we heard from various people, whether it's on our show or watching other, of the prospect breakdowns, could become a top pairing right shot defender. It's one of those players that, you're going to have to decide. And that's why I said, like, straddling the fence, Ezzy, that's one thing we've been talking about for a while. If you're not going to be able to fix the problems this team has. Now, look, I know the Jets organization is looking at what happened to them last year, the injuries to Perfetti, the injuries to Sandberg, the injuries to Hellebuck, the injuries to Lowry. And they're saying, sure, all teams have injuries, but those injuries set us back and really derailed us. And if those four guys, core guys, are going to be able to come back and be healthy and be strong, we're going to be able to, and we augment them, then we're going to be able to do it. But you look at it and you think, okay, everybody's now a year older. Are they getting, that list that Sean read was depressing. It got worse and worse as it went along.
It's funny, Dave. I didn't want to, when he mentioned Eric Goodbranson, look, Eric Goodbranson's had a long NHL career. I believe he's played over 1,000 games, but Eric Goodbranson is not who the Jets should be targeting, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's and that vast list, as he was not, you could argue, would be these are not people the Jets should be targeting. So from that perspective, you look at it and you think,
with respect, those players don't really. I don't know how much.
Well, I mean, you're better. The truth is, as he said, you're better off giving the keys to Isak Rosen, Pratt Lambert, Danny Zhilkin.
Eric Hall was the only interesting name in my perspective. I think Eric Hall still has some tread left on his tires. He had a good year in Nashville. He had 38 points in 81 games, which I think would put him third on the Jets overall in scoring based on last year.
Like a third line guy.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with an Eric Hall acquisition. It was some of the other names that are.
No, I mean, that's what I mean. Like,
grim and getting grimmer.
That's why I said the vast majority of that list. Yeah. So I think what it comes down to, though, is that, so you are in between a rock and a hard place, because you have this, like Sean said, you can maybe get Connor Hellebuck to one more. It's not that Sean said it. We've said this as well. Like the reality is this next year is going to be the most critical one, because if you can't show to this group that you have enough. I mean, remember, Josh Morrissey's only 2 years away from needing a new deal. Well, not really. Not even 2 years. His deal expires in 2 years. He's going to need a new deal next year, right? So from that point, guys, you're either going to have this year to show that, hey, you can turn this around, or you're going to be forced to say, we've put another year of tread on those tires, Ezzy. They weren't as valuable as they would have been this summer to sell, but now we're going to have to sell them off and start the rebuild.
Sorry, go ahead, Ezzy.
No, I was just going to say, guys, like, if the Jets decide to make the 8th overall pick, which they very well might, to me, that doesn't mean that the Jets are rebuilding. Like, the Jets can still make the 8th overall pick and improve holes on the team, I think. But I think what that means is you're going to have to then look at trading a roster player and some of your top prospects, right? Like Cole Perfetti is the guy that, I'm not advocating for Cole Perfetti to get traded, but what I'm saying is, if you don't trade the 8th overall pick, well, what are your other big assets that you could possibly trade? Well, we know that Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, Morrissey, they're off the table. Hellebuck, for the time being, I think we would say is off the table. So then you're looking at, who's somebody they could move. Cole Perfetti, maybe Dylan DeMello or Neil Pionk on the back end, even though Pionk's contract, I think, makes it very hard to trade him. Like, I think you're then looking at trading top prospects, right? Like you're looking at Sasha Boumediene, you're looking at like Braden Yager. Like, again, I'm not advocating for the Jets to trade these guys, but you have to move something to acquire something significant.
Well,
and that's the whole point we're trying to make.
If Vancouver, which is the team most clearly in a rebuild in the NHL,
mm-hmm.
and if Vancouver comes to you and says, Elias Pettersson needs a change of scenery, $11.6 million a year, and he's willing to waive his no move to come to Winnipeg, because I don't
Sweetie Peg, Drew. Sweetie Peg, sure. If
is that almost like the Jets have to sort of hold their nose in acquiring some of the players they might have to acquire? I mean, would you have a problem if Pettersson is acquired by the Jets? I mean, it's not our money. It's not our money. It's it's Mark Chipman's money. It's David Thompson's money. It's the
Well, it's the fans' money,
organization's cap
too.
space.
The fans' money.
Fine, yes. I mean, we contribute to their money, but I mean,
the Jets are community owned, right, guys?
Yeah, right. Again, like an Elias Pettersson, yeah, he isn't an $11.6 million player, not by a long shot. And that contract isn't looking very good. And the whole Canucks organization has been a disaster for, the last number of years. He still put up 51 points last year.
I don't think there's
he'd be a huge upgrade, right, guys, on what they currently have. So I agree with the comment from Doug. Like, if I'm Chevy, though, like, again, hypothetically, if Chevy is talking to Ryan Johnson about Elias Pettersson, you got to think that they would be eating some of that salary.
Right.
Sure.
If the Jets the Jets could say to them, we'll take it on full bore. It's just not going to, you're just not going to get a significant return in exchange for it. You're going to get a second round pick for a full bore of that contract. I mean,
and I mean, I guess, the argument is the Jets do have the salary cap space, right? Like, we don't know exactly what their internal budget is, but they could, for example, move out one of or both of Nino Niederreiter to let Nemesnikov to cut some salary, right? Like, there's ways. Like, the way I look at it is, if you really want to acquire Pettersson, Dave, from Vancouver, you're going to find a way to make the numbers work.
I mean, I just think that's what you sort of have to do. You really have to think outside the box. That maybe it isn't simply you have to trade the 8th overall pick to solve your problem. It's maybe you'd make that draft pick and then you look at distressed assets in other teams and go about it that way. That it's not a one or the other sort of scenario, Dave, that you really sort of are. You got to think of this almost through a different lens than a straightforward linear transaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're suggesting here, right? Is that for the Winnipeg Jets, it's readily apparent you're not going to solve this yet internally. We look at Braden Yager and say, could he be a 2C in the NHL? Maybe, but is he ready to do that next year? Probably not. So you don't have that ready-made solution for a team that needs a ready-made solution, right, Ezzy? And Garrett Brown, we saw him come in, play his first games after a successful college career, winning a national championship and looking pretty good for the Manitoba Moose. But, he's not the same age as Elias Salamonson. So he's older than Elias Salamonson, but so it's not a function of a guy who's too young to play in the NHL, but he's, just played his first few games as a pro. Is he going to be ready to take that step? Maybe he has a really good summer. Garrett Brown's a player that, like I said, big kid, bit of a nasty side, not we didn't see a ton of it yet because he's just learning to play the pro game. But I mean, there's something there potentially. But like you said, you might have to be willing to make a move because you don't have those guys who are necessarily going to fill those holes this upcoming year, which of course is what you need with the Hellebucks and the Scheifeleys and the Morrisseys all in win now mode.
When we come back, Mike Commodore is going to join us for more NHL talk about the Cup Finals. With Mike, you never know where the conversation is going to go. It's going to be an interesting one. Stay tuned. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show is presented by Play Now. Mike Commodore is up next.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now, you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey Winnipeg, Joe Carter here. I look forward to joining you in Winnipeg on June 4th for the Rady JCC Ken Cronson Sports Dinner. See you in June. Don't be late.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Bottom of hour number 2. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Here's something fortuitous. Mike Commodore is also wearing a red t-shirt today. Mike, the three of us are wearing red. Our first guest, John Reynolds, was wearing red. You're wearing red. It's like everybody got the memo. But you might be wearing Hurricanes red, given where we are in the Stanley Cup Finals. Am I right?
Yeah, I guess I kind of am. Yeah, I am cheering for my Canes, and I think they might need a little help, so I'll throw some red on today.
Okay, like that. I guess let's start with that. Well, thanks for joining us, first of all. First and foremost, thanks for joining us this morning. Both games have been very entertaining contests. 1-1. Game 3 goes a little bit later on this evening back in Vegas. Having watched the first 2 games, what are you seeing in this battle between the Golden Knights and the Hurricanes?
Yeah, I mean, I would say first off, the games, like, for watching purposes as a fan, I mean, they've been very, very entertaining. The game 1 back and forth. Right away, the Canes are up. You think they're going to win about 6-0, not so fast. And then, I mean, I said it on my podcast yesterday. I think the Canes should be sending Rasmus Anderson a thank you note, because with 9 minutes to go in that game, the Canes, I thought, were dead in the water. And then Rasmus, instead of rimming it, decided to reverse it to himself. 5'2" Stankoven shoved him around, took the puck, and put it in. And then they were off, and it was a great finish to the game. I mean, I guess unless you were taking Vegas in the under, then you probably didn't like that. But, yeah, I think, I think the Canes, I took the Canes. I'm cheering for the Canes. I love Rod. But I think the Canes are in tough. The biggest thing I've kind of noticed, I would say, would be, the top guys on the Canes and the top guys on Vegas. The top guys on Vegas are pretty big, especially the forwards, as compared to the Canes. The Canes, you got, Svechnikov's pretty big, but doesn't really play like it all that much. Jarvis, you got Aho, Blake, Hall, and who am I missing there on the side? Stankoven, Ehlers. But, hey, you never know. But, yeah, like I said, with 9 minutes to go in Game 2, that thing was headed for 2-0 Vegas, and then kaboom, the fans got into it. Turnover, fans got into it. Anderson got lit up again a little bit on the second one, and here we are. We got a series.
When you watch the series, Mike, I mean, does this take you back to 05, 06? Can you not help but just sort of go back to your own Stanley Cup Finals experience and your own Stanley Cup Finals experience in Carolina? Just sort of walk down memory lane while you're watching these games happen in real time.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the hockey's a little different, I'll tell you that. It's a lot quicker than I remember. But, it is. I'm sure those guys are having a blast. I might try and get out there for Game 5. I feel like I'd be, doing myself a disservice if I don't try and get out there. So, at least for one game. But yeah, like you can tell just watching. I mean, all the buildings are good. Like, don't get me wrong, it is the playoffs, but they do really get into it in Raleigh, and I'm sure those guys are having a blast, and I know everybody's excited down there. So from that perspective, yeah, it's fun.
Commie, it's all those Manitobans. That's why Vegas is so dangerous. That's the secret.
Yeah. Trust me, I've noticed half the teams from Manitoba. You guys got Kelly McCrimmon. If you're a good player and you're from Manitoba, you're going to be playing in Vegas. That's like a guarantee. But no, like I'm not arguing at all. Like there's some really good players, and they're big and they're experienced too, right? Like, I would say after that game too, Vegas is still in the driver's seat, and a lot of those guys have a ton of experience. So I still think they're in a good spot. But I will say, with the ending of that game, I will say Carolina's probably going to Vegas feeling a little bit better about themselves than they should. And Vegas is probably going back being like, damn it. I mean, we had things going pretty good there. They're probably feeling a little worse than they probably should. So it'll be an interesting game 3.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Rod the Bod, and I wanted to talk to him, talk to you about him. I guess I could talk to him about you as well, Commie, but
don't do that. Don't do that.
No, but I mean, I think he's easily one of the best coaches in the NHL. I think you'd agree with that. And I mean, who better to ask than you, who won the cup with him in 2006? Because he just seems like there's no better leader on and off the ice than Rod Brind'Amour. Like, I'm not sure if you saw, his speech to the team after the Game 2 win, but he just seems like the quintessential guy, that coach that players will like run through a brick wall for.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could tell guys love playing for him. First off, I have, I think the world of Rod. We've kept in touch over the years. He doesn't have to do that. And, I think the world of him. I laugh. I mean, now I'm getting kind of used to it, but, I kind of laugh to myself when I see him giving these speeches, because I'm like, there's no way that is like comfortable for Rod. Like, that's not in, he's getting out there a little bit doing that, like speeches. I've heard him talk more in one speech as he's a coach than I heard playing with him for 2.5 years. He was a very like lead by example guy. Like, he didn't say much. Obviously, as you can tell, he spends a lot of time in the gym. He works hard. He takes care of himself. He cares. And you can tell those guys respect him. And, just from what I've been told and from what other people have told me, like, I think some guys, especially former players, when they get into coaching, I think, like, I want to kind of pick my words carefully, but, like, kind of, for lack of better words, they kind of forget what it's like to be a player, and they kind of fall into maybe a little bit of the bullshit on the coaching side, where, as I think Rod is very straight up with those guys, where he's like, hey, you need to do this, or you need to do better, or, I need more out of you, or you're gone, or you're going to be playing less minutes, or we're going to move you. I think he's very, like, honest with players. And at the end of the day, I think that's what players really respect. Like, when you try and, trying to be a nice guy, or, being dishonest or whatever, and players don't respect that. I think they prefer you just tell them and let them deal with it. And I think that's what Rod does. And I mean, hey, I'll tell you what, the Carolina Hurricanes and Tom Dundon, the newish owner now, he wasn't there when I was there. Tom Dundon should be waking up every morning and thanking his lucky stars for Rod Brind'Amour and Rod Brind'Amour's loyalty. Because if it wasn't for Rod Brind'Amour, if Rod, let's say Rod wanted to chase cash, he could get paid more elsewhere, and he would have been gone a long time ago. If it wasn't for Rod's loyalty to the Canes and to the entire area, to Raleigh, North Carolina, the whole area there, the Carolina Hurricanes would not be where they are right now. So I don't know if Tom Dundon realizes it. If he doesn't, he should. He should be thanking his lucky stars for Rod.
Mike, just how impressive has this run been from Carolina, given the fact that Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov haven't been the drivers? It's Taylor Hall, it's Logan Stankov, and it's not the guys you would expect that have been doing it. So does that kind of leave you with a little bit of positivity in the sense that if those guys, I mean, I know it's late in the playoffs to be trying to find your game and take it to that next level, but if they can in Vegas, it really gives Carolina a better shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a reason to be positive in one way, but also that brings me back to to that, those top guys from Vegas. Those guys are pretty good. And then, so I'm like, man, if you're looking to turn it on, I don't know if these are the guys to be turning it on against. But yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, hey, you're at Game 3 of the finals. This is it. I mean, this is your team. You're just if you can't cross your fingers. I guess if you're the coaching staff, run them out there. I know he was changing lines up a little bit to try and get things going. But yeah, I mean, if you can't really get it going now, I mean, I know it's not. I'm sure I know everybody's trying. Like, don't get me wrong. Nobody's going out there and just mailing it in. But yeah, I would say that gives you could be positive with that on the Carolina side. My boy's kid too, Jackson Blake.
Yeah,
he's a player. He's played. He's been very, very good. And I know his dad's having a real good time at all the games. So yeah, I definitely do think if Carolina's going to win this series, these guys got to start getting going a little bit. And the power play's one thing, I suppose, but 5-on-5. But like I said, that's not going to be. I mean, a big thing for him, I think that would help would be. I haven't seen, is McNabb out?
Tortorella wouldn't give an update on his status. So Tortorella met with the media about 5 minutes ago, and he wouldn't give a status update about McNabb for tonight's game.
Okay, is he a Manitoba guy too? He is, isn't he?
McNabb is not a Manitoba guy.
Oh, he's not? I thought he was.
No, he's just a tough SOB though for taking a puck to the face.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that did not look very good. Thank God for visors.
Okay,
but yeah, that would be big for if I'm sitting there, if I'm cheering for the Canes. If he misses a couple games, I think that's good news for Carolina. I mean, obviously they'll bring another defenseman in. I don't know who that is, but that McNabb is big. He can play. He's got a lot of experience, and we saw what happened when Vegas starts rolling 4 there. That's a hard thing to do. You got to have some more guys there, and I think he's a big part of that D-core, especially defensively.
Mike Commodore, our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Mike, what does it say to you about the job that Bruce Cassidy was doing in Vegas, that John Tortorella comes in late in the season and almost immediately turns around the fortunes of the team?
Well, I don't know Bruce at all, and I don't know Torts at all. I've never met either one, so this is not coming from personal experience whatsoever. And I will say sometimes coaches get fired to provide a spark. We were seeing that more and more. I mean, coaches are hired, they're canned right away. Speaking of coaches, we can get into that later about the Jets. When are they canning their head coach? We can talk about that on a different show, though.
We know you. We know that you and Scott O'Neill have a history.
We can leave that alone for now. But I would say, nothing against Bruce, but I'm guessing those players that had enough of him would be, judging from what Torts is saying, basically he's just kind of come in here, give him some direction and let him play. I think I'm guessing that maybe those Vegas guys had enough of Bruce, and however he coaches, maybe he's a little on top. I don't know. I think they were just sick and tired of him and kind of maybe shut him out a little bit. So, a fresh face, and what a situation for Torts. I mean, take the year off, hang out with your dogs, do some fishing, come in with 8 games left, and now you might win a Stanley Cup. So that's a really nice situation for him as well. But yeah, I don't think I guess it's not a great look for Bruce. I'm hearing that the Oilers, I'm hearing that Connor wants Cassidy, which I'm like, I don't know how much sense that really makes. I guess, new coach, new face, 1 year maybe, but I don't know. I guess we'll see, but that's what I'm hearing. I don't know. If I were the Oilers, I think I might go down the Laviolette lane, but I'm jaded. Anyways, Bruce, I would say, how about that? I'm pretty sure Bruce is cheering for the Hurricanes. We could probably, he might be cranking the siren with me on Game 5.
That would be funny. Now that would be a shot. That would be something Vegas would do, wouldn't it?
They would, yeah. That would be funny if they had Cassidy up there cranking the siren for Game 5. Go Canes!
Mike, obviously, when you're a big 6'4", 6'5" defenseman, won the Stanley Cup in 2006 with the Hurricanes. Now another player, 6'5", I want to ask you about on the back end, who's 3 wins away from winning a Stanley Cup. K'Andre Miller, to me, is not getting talked about enough. He doesn't have a goal. He's got 9 assists in 15 games, but a lot of people, when they think about Carolina's defense, they obviously think of Jacob Slavin, who's one of the best defensive defensemen in the league, or Shane Gostisbehere, who's a very good offensive defenseman. But What have you thought of Keandre Miller? Because he's just, to me, like just a smooth skater and just a really solid, smart defenseman.
Yeah, no, that's a really good call. Actually, he doesn't get really talked about at all. All the attention is on Slavin. Slavin's kind of, I mean, Slavin is good. Don't get me wrong. He's a very good player. He's kind of got torched a little bit. But, yeah, being completely honest, I didn't really know much about him. I knew the Rangers and stuff. But like you said, like you don't, at least when I'm watching the games, like you don't, so far, like I haven't really noticed them. And a lot of times as a defenseman, that's a really good thing. That means you're in position. That means you're moving the puck. You're not turning it over. You're not getting caught. So, yeah, I actually need to be completely honest. I think I've kind of forgotten about him a little bit too, and I'd like to watch him a little bit more. I know that the Canes are high on him, and they were thrilled to get him last summer, right? This is his first year in Carolina, isn't it? Yeah, I know they were thrilled to get him. And like I said, I didn't really know much about him. And coming out of New York was kind of a catastrophe. But I know he was thrilled to come to Raleigh, which that's a great thing too, because Raleigh in a way is kind of like Winnipeg. It's not a destination city for guys to go play, and it's not at the top of everybody's list. So he was thrilled to go to Carolina, and I know they were happy about that too.
Mike, we're a destination city for people from Saskatoon and Regina, though.
That's true. Yeah. Hey, I'm not saying it's not a destination city for me. I love coming to Winnipeg. I need to talk to Mike Keane. I think he kicked me out of his event. What a prick. I didn't get an invite to Winnipeg this year.
Let me know if you're going to be in town. We'll go golfing. We'll get in one. We'll do it up.
All right. I like Winnipeg. I've never had a bad time in Winnipeg.
Well, I'm going to ask you about a guy from Oakbank, which is near Winnipeg. And to me, Brett Howden is one of those guys who's just having, I mean, what a playoffs. And I know you're pro Carolina, but you have to just, you can't, sit back and look at what this guy is doing. 12 goals in 58 regular season games. He's got 13 and 18 playoff games. I mean, to me, this is just a remark. And the way he scores his goals obviously aren't very easy. He's not going the pretty lane often, although he scored a couple nice ones against
a couple nice ones though. Yeah.
But just how impressive is that for a guy to do, Mike, in your estimation, to go in and be able to put up more goals in the playoffs than you did in the regular season?
It's very impressive. To be honest, I mean, I knew his name. I couldn't have told you one thing about him before this playoff run. Mm-hmm. And he'd been around for a little while, and they were talking about on the broadcast how his, that I think he said Dan Quinn in New York was big for him. Like, hey, you need to figure out if you want to play in this league or not, and how this is how you got to play if you want to stay here. And I mean, to kick it back a little bit to 2006, it reminds me a lot of the Oilers guy there, Fernando Pisani, where he came in and that run with the Oilers went to the finals. I think Pisani had 14 goals, maybe. Might have been 15. He had a ton. Now, I don't know how many he had during that season, but if it was more than that, I don't think it was much more. So, yeah, I've been very impressed. Obviously he's hot. He shoots the puck. It's pretty good chance it's going in. But he's been pushing people around and going to the hard areas. And, yeah, I mean, he's been a driving force on Vegas for sure.
Mike, Mitch Marner, of course, has been.
Oh man, that guy's 3 wins away from the greatest summer of his life.
And I think and if he's a man of his word, we're going to get a great press conference after that as well.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah,
so do I. I mean, what do you make of his performance? I mean, obviously I think to some degree he was getting a bum rap for, how things ended in that other city that nobody cares about except everyone there thinks that everyone cares about it.
I'm with you guys on that. Yep.
Yeah. But, what do you think? I mean, it seems like he's the kind of guy who should be able to play that 31 other teams would desire to have that kind of talent, that kind of skill, and that kind of sort of, the way he goes about his on ice activities, almost, he's almost a magician out there, and that you never quite know what he's going to do with the puck on any given opportunity, and that's a compliment towards him.
Yeah. Obviously, he's really good with the puck. He plays both ways, and his vision is insane. Mm-hmm. Look, I'd like to sit here and say I didn't rip on him, but I did. And the fact of the matter is, some of those playoff performances in Toronto were terrible, and some of the the optics on it wasn't great. Now, maybe that's because it's Toronto and that you're always seeing it. And so I was critical of him too in the playoffs. But boy, is he ever proven people wrong. I mean, if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup, he's winning the Conn Smythe. I guess maybe Howden,
Marner's 5 points up on the next closest tie.
Okay,
I mean,
so Marner's winning it. So they win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
That guy, I mean, if I was Mitch Marner, obviously I would be doing the parade in Vegas, and I would be getting on his plane right away with my Conn Smythe trophy and flying straight down back to Toronto, and I'd be going for a walk around downtown with my Conn Smythe. That's what I would be doing. But yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's a tough look for Toronto, obviously. But yeah, like he controls the play. He can slow the game down. Obviously, he makes great plays. He can score. He plays both ends of the ice. He plays both ways. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, especially with, I'm sure, if you ask Mitch, he's going to say, oh, I love the Leafs, and you always cheer for it. I mean, you got to be, he's got to be on cloud nine right now. The Leafs are a catastrophe this year. He's 3 wins away from the Stanley Cup. Like I said, they're not giving we don't have to talk about the reasons. I don't want anybody to get canceled. They're obviously not going to give I don't care what Carter Hart does. He ain't getting the Conn Smythe. Right. So it's going to Marner. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of that game, too, Marner was probably thinking to himself, God damn it, Anderson. We're still 3. We were 9 minutes away from being 2 wins away. So I'm sure he's pumped. But, I mean, he's an excellent player, and it's a tough look for Toronto for sure.
Like you said, Commie, if Vegas wins, then Marner's going to be in one, I think, right until early mid-September. Right?
Oh, my God. Like, I don't know him at all. I've never met him, so I don't know his personality or whatever. But if I was in his shoes and went through that and won the Stanley Cup at any point, but the next year, and then to add the cherry on top, the Conn Smythe, I mean, I would, when it was my cup day, I mean, I don't know, he probably has a lake place up in Muskoka or something. I would be taking that cup right downtown to the arena, hoisting that thing over my head. I'd have a full camera crew with me, and I'd be wandering around downtown, going into every bar saying hi to everybody. I would have one hell of a summer.
You mentioned Freddie Anderson there, and he was so dominant in the first 2 rounds. Obviously, the Hurricanes didn't lose a game. And I think you'd agree, he struggled a bit in the Montreal series, although towards the end of the series, games 6 and 7, he was really good. And then the first couple games in this round, he's been a little hot and cold. What's like your current assessment of Freddie Anderson? Because I think you'd agree, Brind'Amour doesn't look like he's going to make any goaltending changes. Like, this is your guy for the rest of the series, right?
Yeah, I think he is. I don't think Rod's going to make any changing, barring something crazy happen in the next game or 2. Yeah, I mean, I will say that I was a little concerned coming into the Vegas series about Anderson, just because, like, at the end of the day, like, he didn't – the first 3 rounds, other than, maybe game 1 against Montreal, like, the Hurricanes were giving up 11 shots a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Hurricanes were dominating teams, and they had a pretty, every series is tough, but they had a little – they didn't have to go through a Colorado to get to the finals like Vegas did. So I was a little worried about that because I'm like, man, they, other than game 1 against Montreal, and yes, the Ottawa games were tight, but they basically shut them down. They shut down the Flyers. Montreal, yeah, I mean, Carolina was still on the golf course for game 1 mentally, so they lose game 1, and then they pretty much dominate. They're giving up 9-10 shots or 15, whatever it is. So I was a little concerned coming into Vegas because I'm like, man, they're not shutting down this team is going to be, I don't think that's possible. I mean, he's going to have to come to play. So if the Canes are going to win, I think he's going to need to, like I said, I'm not saying it's 1-1. They're in a great spot compared to what it could be, but he needs to play well. I think I need to see a little more out of him.
Mike, how much fun is it watching those good Canadian boys from Winnipeg supporting their boy, Seth Jarvis, and getting to see him score that OT game-winning goal?
Yeah. I heard I heard there were a lot of shirts off, guys and females around the arena there after they won game 2. Yeah, I mean, that's fun. You can tell. I don't know that Jarvis either, but he seems like a really good guy, and he's tight with his boys. And yeah, those guys, they definitely aren't selling themselves short at the game. I'm sure those guys have been out tailgating whenever the parking lot opens at about 10 in the morning on game days in Carolina. So yeah, no, that's awesome. And that's part of when you can include your buddies, I think that's one thing. I didn't do it to that degree, but to kind of kick it back to 2006, we were playing the Oilers, and so I'm from just outside of Edmonton. Yeah, I'm from 15, 20 minutes from that old rink. So, when we would go back to Edmonton, I would, whatever tickets were available, they leave a block of tickets for the Hurricanes, and then guys, have a couple, and then any of the extra ones I would just buy, and then I would give them to my boys from home. And that was different. It wasn't, he's got his guys in Carolina. This was on the road in Edmonton. I just told my buddies, I go, hey, look, I know half you pricks are cheering for the Oilers. I go, I get it. I go, look, I'm buying these tickets for you. I go, just don't show up in Oilers gear. Okay. It's going to be in and around family. I'm like, just don't bring Oilers gear. Just dress neutral or wear some Kane stuff. They're like, okay, for sure. And it actually worked out. A couple of my buddies, it's that old arena in Edmonton. Edmonton's a blue collar city. They like their beers and they get a little gritty. And in the finals, actually, my boys ended up, saving some of the parents a little bit from a lot of hassles from some of the locals. I got some buddies from home that are pretty tough, so it ended up working out pretty good. Everything worked out well, and so, anyways, I kind of know where he's coming from with the buddy thing, and I think that's awesome.
Mike Commodore, great appearance this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Thanks so much for doing it. Great catching up, and we'll do it again real soon.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's get into it when it's time to gas our Neil. You guys give me a call. You just let me know when it's time to gas our Neil. Oh, last thing with the Jets, I went out. I meant to bring this up at the beginning.
Yeah,
I went out for a nice round of golf about 3-4 days after you guys were done with Jonathan Taves, Mark Scheifele, and Adam Lowry down here in Phoenix. Yeah, I had a real nice time. So we can talk about that next time.
No, anything we have time. If you have anything interesting you want to share.
I do have some things that are interesting that I want to share, but I shouldn't share them, so I'll save it for later. How about that?
Confidences are important, and
Mike, we're going to get Ezzy to text you so we can get some insights.
I want to keep golfing with these guys, so I can't reveal.
I gotcha.
I did have a very nice time. Great dudes. I think the Jets are going to be fine. That Scheifele's got he can play.
Yeah.
He's a golfer. Yeah. Well, he can play hockey too, obviously, but yeah, he's a good golfer. Anyways, great dudes. I had a really good time. I'm glad I went.
Mike, thank you, buddy. We'll catch up again soon. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike Commodore, great appearance this morning.
Share, Mike,
fun.
share. As he texts him right now, find out.
I want to know who was in one.
Well, Mike is an honorable man who will not, of course, spill confidences inappropriately as much as we would like him to. But that was a hell of a fun appearance on this morning's program. Let's take our final commercial break. We'll come back with overtime here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey Winnipeg, Joe Carter here. I look forward to joining you in Winnipeg on June 4th for the Rady JCC Ken Cronson Sports Dinner. See you in June. Don't be late.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Overtime here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, over the 2-hour timeline, but we keep on going for the next few minutes. This show is presented, of course, by our friends at Play Now. Dave M., you gave me grief for the number that I attributed Brady Oliveira to for his rushing yards, and I deserve that grief. I said 115. He actually ran for 113 yards.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were over.
I was over by 2 yards.
Oh, so maybe his total yard
24 yards in receiving.
Was his so it was 137
total yards.
I see. So it's Connor Rabchak who tweeted that out. I got the info wrong.
What was yak yards, Drew?
Well, I mean, for the most part, his yak yards would be pretty, most of them are dump offs that he ran for. So I would suspect that his yak yards were probably in the range of 15 to 18 yards of those 24 were after the catch was made. Because if you want to get in the way of Brady Oliveira trying to tackle him, that is certainly your business. And, I'm not envious of the linebackers and the defensive backs who have to try and take him down in open field for the Bombers.
You have nothing to worry about, Drew, because you already love dogs. So,
yeah, thank you. That's good. I do. That's very true. That was a fun appearance by Mike Commodore. He's, first time we've caught up with him in a little while, and he certainly brought some energy and some insight into the program. So if you missed any of that, be sure to catch it on the instant replay or on the podcast edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We remind everybody that it is 3 weeks less 1 day until the NHL Draft. We are going to be live at Canada Life Center as part of the Jets draft party. So we're going to do live coverage of the first round of the NHL Draft. We will be there in person. So if you're looking for something to do, we are going to also be there to see if the Winnipeg Jets end up using their 8th overall selection.
Boys, we're going to have to coordinate our shirts a little bit better.
Yeah, we need to have the exact same shade of red is what we need to do. But
obviously wardrobe won't allow us to make that mistake.
No, as soon as we get a wardrobe department and a makeup department, then we'll be okay on that front. Unless are you taking the responsibilities for that, Dave?
With you two? I don't think so.
In any event, the 26th of June coming up, we will be there for the Jets draft party, live coverage of the NHL Draft. So, of course, keep it locked here to our YouTube channel as well on that Friday night, and we'll bring you all the latest to do with the Winnipeg Jets. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final goes tonight. You can look forward to that as well. We want to say a big thank you.
Tonight, Drew.
Pardon me?
Who's going to win tonight?
Vegas is going to win at home tonight.
Think so?
Yeah, I think Vegas is probably thinking that I think Carolina's thinking we're sort of fortunate to be 1-1, and Vegas is like, we've been the better of the two teams for most of the series, for probably 4.5 of the 6 periods that have been played, plus overtime, of course, as well. I would think that Vegas is so far, been the better of the two teams. And I would expect that they're going to win on home ice tonight in front of the rabid crowd in downtown Los Angeles.
Hurricanes in 5.
You think it's Hurricanes in 5? Really?
No. I think they do win. I think it's going to be Hurricanes in 6, actually.
Really? Okay. I mean, the way Vegas has looked, I think they're going to
I think it's going 7.
I I mean, if it goes 7, it's hard to imagine Carolina losing at home, but Vegas has been playing some pretty good hockey. So I'm going to go, I think it's Vegas in 6 is unfortunately what I have to report. I hope I'm wrong. Believe me, Lord knows I hope I'm wrong, but we will see on that front as well. That's it for us on this Saturday morning edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Big thanks to the sponsors. They're up there on the screen, courtesy of our buddy Frosty, Winnipeg Play Now, Boston Pizza, Wheatland Hockey, City Place, Holt Dental, Rumors Restaurant.
We had a nice chat with Dr. John Holt at the sports dinner. We Ezzy and I came and joined us to have a little chit chat. So we had a nice chat with John. We were talking new commercial. Maybe I get him to actually live do Ezzy those grills on Ez.
I think that's a genius idea. I'm 100% in on it. It's the one thing that Ezzy's been missing.
At the Rady dinner, I asked Dr. Holt if he could give me a grill like on site, and then he just asked me, how'd you get in here?
And that's a legitimate question, and security will have to be beefed up for next year's Rady.
But Drew, I gotta say though, we have that empty seat though. I looked over a couple times. I was missing my boy.
I apologize. The scheduling was chaotic in the Mindell family on Thursday night. Unfortunately, I tried my best. I did everything I could, but I couldn't clone myself. And I think actually it's probably for everyone's benefit.
Thank God
that I was unable to clone myself.
Yeah,
really, would you consider it that way? Yeah, thank God is right. If you missed any of the program, the instant replay is on the YouTube channel. The podcast will be available shortly. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks to Sean Reynolds. Thanks to Mike Commodore. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, and be sure to join us next Saturday morning for another edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. If it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us.